This is the kind of moment that separates noise from intent in Chicago. And if you're here with me right now, you can feel it too. The Bears are no longer talking about someday at edge rusher. They're circling names that finish games, and Trey Hendrickson is right at the center of that conversation. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report. I'm talking straight to you one-on-one, like always, to break down what's real, what's speculation, and what a move like this would actually mean for our defense, our front office philosophy, and our playoff ceiling. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why Hendrickson's name is tied to Chicago, how his profile fits exactly what this roster is missing opposite our current rush plan, what his contract situation looks like, how the Joe Tryon-Shoyinka deal fits into the bigger picture, what the numbers and trends say about an aggressive move, and at the end, I'll give you a clear, no-nonsense read on where this stands and whether a Hendrickson to Chicago scenario is a smart, realistic step or just a shiny distraction. Stick with me, because I'm not just dropping a headline, I'm giving you the roadmap. Let's start with our reality before we talk about anybody else's. This version of the Bears is not the old rebuild forever project. You see it in the record. You see it in the way Ben Johnson calls games. You see it in the way Caleb Williams is already operating like the face of the franchise. The offense has structure. Young weapons are showing up. And this team is in the thick of the playoff picture instead of watching from a distance. When you reach that stage, edge rusher stops being a luxury and becomes a requirement. You can't live in January football without somebody who consistently wins off the edge on 3rd and long, forces protections to slide, closes games instead of surviving them. Losing a starter up front this year only amplified the urgency. The front office responded quickly with the low-risk move for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, a buy low on traits, rotation piece, good swing, solid, professional. But let's be honest with each other. That kind of move alone doesn't scare elite offenses. That kind of move doesn't change how offensive coordinators sleep on Saturday night. That's why the idea of Trey Hendrickson in navy and orange hits different. Now, let's talk about the player the right way. Hendrickson is not a maybe. He's one of the most productive and consistent pass rushers of the last few seasons. Double-digit sack season, high pressure rates, relentless motor, violent hands. A real closer on the edge. He's built his reputation not on one hot stretch, but on sustained impact, playoff snaps, and the kind of snap-to-snap urgency this defense wants to embody. He wins with leverage, with power, with technique, and he has shown he can line up wide inside, stand up if needed, run games, execute stunts without losing rush lane discipline. That's exactly the archetype Chicago has been missing across from its developing front. A proven alpha who doesn't need projection or excuses, someone who forces the offense to change the math. When his name surfaces in connection with the Bears, it's not random. It comes from a simple alignment. A GM known for aggression at the deadline, a coaching staff refusing to label this as a slow build, a roster right on the edge of something real, and a proven pass rusher whose contractual and competitive situation naturally makes other teams ask, is there a window here? The contract piece is where this gets both complicated and interesting. After pushing for and securing a major raise, Hendrickson is being paid like what he is, a premium pass rusher in his prime, with a 2025 figure that leaves zero doubt about how the Bengals value him. That number is heavy, and any team thinking about acquiring him needs to understand it's not just about the player. It's about how that cap hit fits your core structure. For the Bears, this is where their work over the last seasons pays off. They've cleaned the books, built around a rookie contract franchise quarterback, and given themselves room exactly for moves like this targeted elite pieces, not random splashes. Adding a salary at Hendrickson's level means you're not dipping a toe. You're stepping fully into the window. It means you believe this defense, with one more major piece up front, can tilt games now. While your offensive centerpiece is still cheap enough to let you surround him properly. That's the frame I want you to keep in mind while we go deeper. Hendrickson is not a rental idea you casually toss around. He's a declaration. Now, how does this fit with what the Bears have actually done? The Tryon-Shoyinka trade is the perfect tell. Ryan Poles went out and bought upside at a discount. A former first-rounder, flashes as a rusher, stuck in a limited role, cheap pick swap. That's the move of a front office that understands roster value. But it's also the move of a front office that knows it still hasn't solved the top of the pass rush room. If you're fully satisfied, you don't go hunting trades days after an injury. You trust your depth. Instead, Chicago layered. That tells me they're willing to explore multiple tracks. 1. Develop in-house and find out who sticks. 2. Stay ready if a genuine difference maker becomes available on terms that make sense. This is the lane Hendrickson sits in. He is not the guy you add just to say you moved. He's the caliber of player you add when you believe your defense is one elite finisher away from being feared. Schematically, the fit almost sells itself. Picture this defense with a healthy interior rotation, disciplined off-ball linebacker, young DBs who can drive on the ball, and Hendrickson as your primary wide rusher. You can live in four-man pressures more often. You don't have to live and die with heavy blitzes that expose your back end. You can line him up away from your strongest interior presence to force the offense into uncomfortable decisions. Slide protection his way and isolate others, or leave him singled and live with the consequences. He's strong enough to play the run with integrity, smart enough to understand rush lanes against mobile quarterbacks, and nasty enough to set an edge culture-wise. For a coaching staff installing an attacking but assignment-sound front, this is plug and play. He aligns with the identity you're trying to build. Physical, efficient, relentless, no nonsense. Of course, there's a cost, and I'm not talking about money alone. Any move for a player in his tier, with his production and his adjusted deal, is going to hurt in picks or premium assets. You don't steal elite pass rush, you pay for it. That's where the Bears' current position adds another layer. This isn't a 3-5 team fooling itself. This is a group with a winning record, a favorable stretch, a young QB ascending, and a head coach openly rejecting the idea of a patient teardown. You make a Hendrickson-type move when you look at your locker room and say, "We're ready to send a message that the standard just went up." The risk is obvious. Age curve, health, the price of acquisition. But the upside is just as obvious. A real chance to turn close games into wins by affecting the pocket when it matters. Something this franchise has talked about for years and rarely executed. Now I want to speak directly to you because this channel exists to think football with you, not at you. Imagine it. You flip on the tape late in the season, Bears in a primetime game, and instead of watching our defense hang in there for 3 quarters and fade, you see a front that closes. You see an edge who turns 2nd and 7 into 3rd and 14. You see a coordinator willing to rush 4 because he trusts one of those 4 to win. Does Trey Hendrickson in this uniform represent that to you? Would you be comfortable sending a premium pick, maybe more, knowing you're buying into a win-now arc around Caleb and Ben Johnson? Or do you look at his age, his price, the timeline, and say, we're 1 year early for that kind of swing. Keep stacking smart, mid-level moves, and build a pass rush through volume and development? I want you thinking in terms of roster building, not just names, because this is exactly the tension inside Hollis Hall. Accelerate hard into the window, or keep one foot on the brake while the standings are literally telling you you've arrived faster than expected. Before I give you my verdict, let me connect all the threads cleanly. We have a Bears team with a real shot at the postseason, a GM with a track record of being active at the deadline, but disciplined with price, a serious need for high-end pass rush after injury and years of patchwork, a minor but smart trade for Tryon Shoyinka that strengthens depth but doesn't solve the problem, and a top-tier edge rusher whose contract, production, and situation elsewhere him a natural target in any serious pass rush conversation. Put together, that's not clickbait. That's a logical scenario, but logic alone doesn't make a deal real. So here's the straight professional line you stayed for. As of right now, Trey Hendrickson is not a Chicago Bear. There is no official announcement, no completed trade, no done deal hiding in the shadows. What we have is a credible framework. If and only if a player like Hendrickson truly becomes available at a cost that matches his impact and fits the Bears' cap and pick structure, Chicago is exactly the kind of team that should be in that conversation. Aggressive enough to ask, smart enough to walk away if the ask is out of touch. That's the balance. For me, a Hendrickson to Bears move only makes sense under 3 conditions. First, the compensation reflects that you're buying immediate high-level production, but not mortgaging multiple future drafts. Second, the contract is integrated into a long-term plan that keeps weapons around Caleb instead of squeezing them out. Third, the staff is fully committed to building the defense around a dominant front that justifies the investment. If those boxes are checked, you're not chasing a name, you're finishing a spine. If not, it's noise. Now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you pull the trigger on Trey Hendrickson for the right package, trusting Poles and Johnson to push this team firmly into contender territory, or would you hold picks and cap space? Let Tryon Shoyinka and the current rotation prove themselves and keep the big swing for another moment.